Can we have Mike Mcphee come forward? Mike Mcphee, ladies and gentlemen, is originally from River Bourgeois, Cape Breton. Mike, is the whole town here? Is everybody here? I think they did the wave right there, didn't they? That was... All right. Thank you. He has a nickname, Big River. That's one of his nicknames because of where he's from. His other nickname, Big Mac, came when his 6'2", 205-pound muscular frame collided with opponents. From the time he played outstanding junior hockey, he was known as taciturn and serious. All through his career, reporters learned that he was not the source of flamboyant news stories. In truth, he never seemed to take himself too seriously. He figured hockey was a game and should be treated as such. As a junior, he never expected to reach the NHL, even though he had a blazing wrist shot and great puck handling skills to go along with his size and great defensive abilities. Everybody else, it seemed, knew him as one of Nova Scotia's best ever. Early on, he was, quote, most concerned about getting an education, and he did very well in school. In grades 10, 11, and 12, he was at the top of his class. He always wanted to be an engineer, and with this... Shortly after arriving at the Montreal tryout camp, he broke his thumb crashing into the boards. He was sent down at this point to play with the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. After his thumb healed, he eventually played 74 games over 2 seasons with the V's, during which time he banged the knee up some more and had more cartilage taken out, and was getting weak by this point, and he still hung in. 22 goals, 33 assists during the 1983-84 season resulted in a February promotion to the big club. In 15 games with the Habs, he scored 5 goals and sufficiently impressed then-coach Jacques Lemaire that he played a regular shift in the playoffs. Mcphee's defensive play may have drawn greater praise. He became one of the Canadiens' chief penalty killers and was often used by Lemaire in key situations late in the games. Mike Mcphee made the All-Star team in 1989, but as those of you who know him would expect, this can't hold a candle to his being part of Montreal's Stanley Cup championship team of 1986. In that series, the overall fondest memory is definitely the Stanley Cup, but in particular, the moment that he will remember the most was the overtime goal scored by Brian Skrudland 9 seconds after the opening whistle of overtime. Mcphee assisted on the goal as the Canadiens tied the series with Calgary at a game each and went on to win the Cup. He played in 180 playoff games, missing postseason action only 1 time during his great career. He can look back at having skated alongside Guy Carbonneau and Russ Courtnall to form the CCM line, a combination of defensive play, speed, and muscle. While he loved his years with Montreal, Mcphee welcomed the 1992 move to Minnesota and a reunion with former Habs teammate Bob Gainey, the North Stars coach and general manager. After 9 games with Dallas in 1993, his knee finally stopped supporting him, and he had to call it quits. A decade of NHL wear and tear had left him with no cartilage at all in one knee. In August of 1996, Mike, his wife Jane Ann, their kids Adam, who's 15, Allison 13, moved back to Nova Scotia to set up a home in St. Margaret's Bay. He could look back at having scored 20 or more goals in 4 seasons, scoring 15 shorthanded goals, 23 game-winning goals, and 26 goals to go with 26 assists in playoff games. His best seasons for goals were 1987 and 88 and 89-90 when he got 23. His top points came in 90-91 when he picked up 43. He is known now for his community involvement, regularly participating in charity golf tournaments and making hospital visits to sick kids. He coached Adams' minor hockey team in 1995, but has never given big-time coaching a thought. If there is a word to describe Mcphee on the ice and off it, it is unflappable. He's never fussed over any of the 300 points he scored in the 500 games plus that he played during his remarkable career, so it remains for us tonight to do the fussing for him. Ladies and gentlemen, our 6th and a most deserving inductee to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame tonight is one of Nova Scotia's finest hockey players ever, Mike Mcphee. I'll correct that. Their children just look older. Adam's 12 and Allison's 11. My mistake, but it's a compliment when you're that young. Can we have To make the presentation from Wood Gundy, Representative Paul Scott, Manager of Private Client Investments, and Hall of Famer Duncan McIntyre of Sydney, the star with the Sydney Millionaires of the Maritime Major Hockey League in the early 1950s. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1996. Our newest inductee to the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame is Mike Mcphee from River Bourgeois. Every time I see you, I ask you about Guy Lafleur. So why should tonight be different? Can you tell folks about your first shift in the NHL and who they sent you out there with?
Well, this was my first game. My first game was in Detroit. I called up. I was in Springfield with the Voyageurs, and I called up and came to the game to get ready, and Jacques Lemaire came in the dressing room and announced the lines, and my line ended up being Guy Lafleur and John Chabot. So, of course, first game, just being a kid, and although I wasn't a Montreal fan, I still had a lot of respect for Guy Lafleur. I must have been shaken a bit because Guy came over and said to me, he said, "Listen, Mike, you got here, you're here for a reason, just go out and play your game," and that sort of calmed me down a little bit.
Did you tell him that night that you liked Boston?
Not that night,
no.
Later on, when I got to know him.
What is it like for a kid from River Bourgeois to have a Stanley Cup ring and all of those memories?
Well, I guess when you're involved in the NHL and you're playing the games, and it becomes part of your life. But I think tonight and after my career, you get a chance to look back, and there's no question I feel very proud of my career and the fact that I played for 11 seasons. I think especially with the talent that I had to have lasted that long. So it was a dream. 1986 was the summer of 1986 was a blur. It was a lot of fun.
Did the Cup come home to Nova Scotia that summer?
No, I think they started in 1990.
Okay. What about this now? You look back on this, and I remember we talked when you came back to Nova Scotia, and you told me a few years back there was never any hesitation at all for you to bring your family back home. You love this province.
There's no question. Obviously my parents and Jane Ann's parents are from Cape Breton, and that was one of the big drawing cards. And the other was that we came back. We had a cottage outside of Halifax, and for 13 years we came back to Halifax, and just loved Nova Scotia. And we got a chance to see other cities, in my tour in the NHL, and ended up in Dallas, of course. And there's no way Dallas doesn't compare to Halifax and Nova Scotia.
The greatest thing about this guy is that he never hesitates to give everything he has back to the community. Mike Mcphee, ladies and gentlemen.